cab section here. Let's zoom in on it. Move it over a little bit here. And also show you a couple of tools I think that I probably haven't demonstrated. So this is actually the roof here is 3D, but probably right around there, that point will be where we want to start. So I'll click. Now, if I hold down the Shift key, that gives me a straight line. Click, hold down the Shift key again. I now have a straight line here. Click, Shift key again here. Now, I'm going to just set vertices, one there, one here. We'll do one there, and then Shift key across and close that spline. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, let's go into, we are already in isolation mode. So I'm going to turn off Start New Shape. Oh, that's already off, so that's okay. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work. I'm winging it a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle here. I've got one there. And I'll make, let's leave it at that for now. I'll then go into, I wonder if these are two objects or whether they're one object. Let's find out for a second. We'll pick it up and we'll move it. So they're two objects. Remember I'd said sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't for me. So we'll go ahead and we'll add the E on the keyboard edit spline modifier, and that will allow me to then attach this one. And now they should be one object. And indeed they are. We can tell that because we can see the different vertices. Now to get the arc here, I can do this manually, or I could try to do it in another fashion, but I'm going to select, turn off attach. I'm going to select these vertices, whoops, Control Z, right click, I'll change them to smooth. A little trick here, right click again, and now change them to Bezier. And now I can adjust the handles down like that till these are smooth, and then I could stretch out these handles a little bit like that to get my arc. Now let's go to the spline level, select that spline, hold down the Shift key, boom, I've got a second one, I've got a third one, and now for this one, I'll set that around there. I will then go to the spline level again. I'll scale it. I'll select, I'll go back to move, grab these vertices, have to go to the vertex level. And now I should be able to move those vertices straight down like that. I'm going to leave a little lip here so that I can get a nice extrusion. Continue with the process, right click here, I'll make that smooth. Right click here, I'll make that smooth. I like to make it smooth and then change it to Bezier because it automatically gives me some smoothness to what I'm looking for. Let's zoom in here and see how nicely we can get here. Okay, now what happens if I need to add a vertex? There's a great tool called Refine. So what do I have to do? I choose segment or spline. Let's see if I can find the Refine tool. Refine. Click on Refine. Notice that if I put a refinement in this, whoops, if I put a refinement in it, it attempts to keep the vertex, keeps the shape. Doesn't always work perfectly, but now I can pick that up. I'm going to make this a Bezier. Whoops, I need to go to the vertex level. So I'll take that one, I'll move that one over. I'll make it a Bezier corner. That Bezier corner allows me to manipulate one side without the other pretty quickly. I'll take this one, move this one down like this. I have to refine, put another corner in there, come in here, select it up like that. And that seems to probably will be good enough for what I'm trying to do now. Let's look at it. Okay, now we'll go up here, get up to the object level, and then we're going to choose extrusion on the keyboard, E, extrude. Extrude it a little bit. One of the things about Max is that you can orbit any viewport. I'm in a front viewport right now, but now as soon as I go like that, I am now in an orthographic viewport. So that allows me to then look and see the extrusion that I do like that. Now for this particular thing, I would then proceed to take that, hold down the Shift key, make a copy of it like this, make it an instance, and say, okay, give it a better name, like, and let's see, cab wall, right, and this one would be cab wall left. And now we have the beginnings of what we're trying to make. So that's one example of 2D out of 3D. Okay, anybody have any questions about what I just showed you? Any questions? Nope. Okay. Let me go back to the shapes here, and I want to demonstrate one other thing that is a common thing that's going to come and bite you. I'll just come and go reset, which is that sometimes text in particular will have shapes that intersect. Now, I haven't planned this ahead of time, so I don't really know which text I should use to create that, but I'll make it happen. So let's try some Bookman old style. Let's see, italic and kerning. So these are some of the tools that are available for text. Max Text is pretty cool. Now let's zoom in on some of this here. What I'll do is let me go ahead and put an extrude modifier on it and extrude it up a little bit. So now we have some nice text here. It's often the case that Max will not mind, it doesn't mind at all if you screw up. So if I come back to the text and I add an edit spline modifier, I go to the vertex level, I grab that vertex, and I choose move. Let's have it so that we can zoom in on it in here in this viewport. There we go. So if I manage to make these crisscross like that, then this is the result you get. Everybody see that? So it's very common when you're working in Max to inadvertently make a very, very slight crisscross like that. And then that's why your text is not working. There it is, like that. So right click, turn it back into smooth, and then you're sure that the tangency is going to be better. Okay. What else? Hold yes. Okay, one other thing that is that you need to understand that's actually very important, and we're going to go reset one more time to show this off. I'll just go and make that. I'll set my my type to Bezier to let's go ahead and make here's an example where, like that, that's where you'll get that kind of intersecting shape, like that. And it's very often, even right there, it would be an intersecting shape. You might not notice it. So I'm going to go ahead and just make something here to demonstrate what I'm trying to show. So these might look like curved lines, but in fact, there are no curved lines here. These lines are made with straight line segments. If I go and I add an edit spline modifier to this, and I select the vertices so I can see the vertices, and I zoom in down here, you can see the straight line segments right down here where my mouse is moving. 1, 2, 3 straight line segments, and then looks like 4, 5, 6, 7. So I would imagine that there are 6 imaginary vertices in between here. How do we control that? The way we control that is in the interpolation rollout. And indeed, there it says 6 steps. If I reduce this, 2 steps, 1 step, no steps. So you can now see there are no intermediary steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. And notice that now I have 77, and this now is a beautiful smooth curve, but this is going to create a hellishly overly detailed geometry. Let's go ahead and do that by now going up to the edit spline and adding E on the keyboard, extrude, and I will go into realistic mode. I will extrude this a certain distance, and I will come around here, turn off the grid. It's not obvious. Let's give it a better color until we turn on edged face mode. When you are making things in Max, if you see geometry that's dense like this, then you know that you've done something that you're not going to be happy with later. Now this isn't that horrible. Let's go back down to the line, turn on show end result, and notice now that if I change those steps, this is probably the way you want your game's geometry to look. This is probably the way you want your film geometry to look. It depends. But you don't want your geometry, oh, and that's as much as it goes. It's 100. Well, good for them that they put a limit on that. It's easy to blow up Max by pushing these sliders and saying, let's just see what happens. Say, okay, you want 1 billion line segments? Sure, no problem. Just let me go and crash on you. Now, there is an optimize and an adaptive function here. So I have a straight line segment here, and if I turn off optimize, you'll see that this is, when optimize is on, Max is smart enough to know, ooh, that's a straight line segment, okay. And adaptive, look at what adaptive does. Adaptive says, well, we don't really need it over here, but oh, we got a little curve here. So that's really where Max is being smart. Yeah, like 6 iterations on Turbo Smooth. Yes, that's how to crash Max. Now, here's the thing that I've learned working at Turbo Squid is that, I mean, I grew up with Max, and so I just assumed that everything that Max would let you do was kosher. But the truth of the matter is that not everyone in the world uses Max. A whole lot of people use Maya, Softimage, Lightwave, Cinema 4D, Modo, everything else that is a normal product that that basically doesn't want things to be like that. So what I'm discovering is that most companies, when they're looking for geometry, they want the polygon distribution